Very pleased to say we're joined by Pauline Stonehouse, who ran a post office in Sunderland and was also prosecuted.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning to you.
Morning.
We were just chatting a moment ago, weren't we?
We were.
And I said to you, how are you? And do you feel talked out
Yes, I
because
do.
of what's been going on? And you described yourself yesterday at home, having a moment in time. Tell me.
I felt like the painting, the scream, putting your hands on your face and wanted to scream because the world's gone mad with the coverage of this scandal.
The coverage, I dare say, in a way that you welcome because it's brought attention to a dreadful thing that has happened to you. And in the same breath just must be personally overwhelming.
Very overwhelming. It brings back a lot of memories, bad memories as well, of the time when it happened and the investigation that took place, the interrogation by the investigators. Yeah, it brings it all back.
Do you want to take us back a little bit, just so people watching fully understand? You're running your post office, and you're looking at the numbers, and you can't make them add up. And then you talk about this investigation, the interrogation. Can you just give us a sort of short version of that process and how soon it became something very, very hostile?
Yeah, certainly. From having a new counter installed, so a new computer system being upgraded. From that point, things started going wrong. So every week, consistent shortages that got larger and larger and larger. Computers crashing, so losing transactions. Phoning the helpline, asking for help, not getting any, being reassured that it would overturn itself, it would correct itself. It never did. Having to take money from the shop takings to put into the post office to put the shortages correct. Then coming to a point where we couldn't do that no more, and then they were taking money from my wages to pay off the debt that way. I think they took 3 or 4 different amounts out of my wages. I couldn't do that anymore either after a certain point, otherwise I'd have no wages left. And then subsequently contacting the area manager to say, look, this is what's been going on, this is what I've been doing, I can't do this no more, the stress is too much. To be then immediately suspended, auditors sent in, having the keys taken out of my hands and no longer allowed access to the counter.
This is a familiar story in terms of having spoken to other sub-postmasters and mistresses, how quickly it all escalated and how there was an absolute barrier. You were in the wrong. There was no question of the systems being wrong. What happened after the keys were taken away?
Pretty quickly, I would say within a week, I was invited to an interview which essentially turned into an interrogation. I was interviewed under caution, which happened over a good couple of hours.
And this is by the post office?
By the
because
post office
the post office has the legal power in England and Wales to bring about convictions.
Yeah, at no point were the police involved, it was just them. Right. To then have numerous questions in depth about my personal life and my husband. If I hadn't taken it, did he? Not told me, as if he'd do that. And then, obviously, the staff didn't do it, or did they? I would no. To then say, well, we've got to prosecute you to set an example because you're the only one that's done this.
OK, which obviously in consequential years you found out wasn't true. What happened then?
Numerous visits then to magistrates' courts, different ones from Sunderland to Durham to ending up in Newcastle Crown Court to the final day, to their own barrister standing there and saying that, look, Pauline didn't steal the money. You can't do any more to what has already happened, because by this point I'd been made bankrupt. I'd had my home taken off me. We had to be rehomed by the council. Well,
it's outrageous, Pauline. You're absolutely fine to get upset because I'm furious for you as anyone else who's listening. You'd made payments. Did you have to promise a payment then?
No, at that point, they basically said that, look, you plead guilty to false accounting rather than theft, and then you won't go to prison. They then proceeded then just to give me a 6-month sentence, but I had no money to give them, so they didn't ask for anything to give them back to them.
I'm thinking, Pauline, and anyone watching you now is going to be living this with you and thinking, just a regular person making a living, and then this thing happens to you, completely outside of your control. You mentioned your husband, whose name is Christopher, I believe. You had young daughters at that time as well. How did this play out in terms of those relationships? They obviously would have trusted you implicitly, but did you end up having horrendous conversations? You know, maybe even ask, did you end up having to ask your husband, knowing that he hadn't done anything wrong, did you end up having those kind of conversations?
Yes, because when they brought it up in the interrogation and said, are you sure your husband didn't do it? And even though I said, no, he didn't, they then put that kernel of doubt in your mind, and I left there afterwards, and I stewed over it for a couple of days, and then eventually I had to ask him, and I said, I'm sorry, babe, but I have to ask you this, and you know, they put the idea in my head. Did you steal the money? I know you haven't, but I have to ask. And the result of that question could have ended my marriage. And I never forgive them for that. Because it could have, I mean, it hasn't, because we're as strong as anything, but it could have resulted in that.
Do you need a sip of water?
No, I'm okay.
You're all right.
Yeah.
When you were made homeless and you were rehoused by the council, what was the impact that had on your children? I know the answer to this, because we spoke about this just a short while ago. But that's hard for children, because you're uprooted, aren't you? You're changing schools.
For her, she would have only been 9, so she was, junior school, just starting junior school. To then have to move to a new school, make new friends, be the new kid in school, and be bullied for a little while because of that and be isolated. It was very hard on her, and I think it's had an impact continuously since then. She's quite an outgoing child up to that point, and she wasn't for a long time. She's bouncing back as she's got into adulthood, but it wasn't good for her for ages.
At this moment in time, obviously, the next stage of the inquiry, an inquiry is undergoing, begins today. What we know is, in terms of compensation, what people are going to get. Do you have an idea of what you might be entitled to?
No, I have no idea yet. I'm still waiting for a figure from the solicitors via the forensic accountants. That hopefully is forthcoming this month. I've been told in the new year. What that figure is, I think, is anybody's guess.
And regardless of the figure, does any amount, be it £600,000, be it £75,000, there are various figures being bandied around, does any amount compensate?
No. They'll never give my life back. They'll never give me my livelihood back. They'll never give me my peace of mind and my confidence back either. They've destroyed so much, and they've destroyed so much potential for us as well, because that business was our future, what we could have done there up until retirement. There was so much possibilities, and they took that off us.
Pauline, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's not necessarily easy. You came in here saying you're a chatterbox.
I am a chatterbox.
You came in here and you've told us an extraordinary story that people... I mean, it helps. It helps all of us from the outside to understand what it's like. You've got a granddaughter now, haven't you?
I have, yeah. She's 2.5.
I bet that must be one of the things that, in amongst, you know, you described yourself at home, that must be one of the things that is a blessed thing that takes you away, maybe, from some of this.
Yeah, she's my little Isabel, and she says she's 2.5, and she's absolutely gorgeous. She's my world.
That's brilliant. Thank you. I wish you and your family all the best.
Thank you very much.